Welcome back to another story that proves sometimes the strongest people are simply the ones who kept getting back up. Dwayne "Dog" Chapman built a career chasing fugitives, but behind the tough persona was a man carrying decades of loss, regret, and heartbreak that few viewers ever fully understood. Chapman has described a childhood where violence at home made him believe that being beaten by your father was simply part of growing up. As a young man, he later found himself caught in a situation that resulted in a serious criminal conviction and prison time. But prison was only the beginning of a life filled with consequences he would spend years trying to outrun. After his release, Chapman learned that he had a son, Christopher, whom he had never known existed. The circumstances surrounding that discovery were devastating, and Christopher later struggled with addiction and repeated legal problems. Then came another loss that would stay with Chapman forever. His son Zebediah was born prematurely and died only 30 days later, contributing to the collapse of the marriage he was born into. But perhaps the most devastating moment came in 2006. Just before Chapman was supposed to marry Beth, his 23-year-old daughter Barbara was killed in a car accident. Somehow, Chapman and Beth continued with their wedding the following day, carrying unimaginable grief into what should have been a celebration. Years later, another chapter of pain emerged. Beth was diagnosed with throat cancer in 2017. After initially appearing to overcome it, the cancer returned. In June 2019, Beth died at only 51. For Chapman, losing Beth wasn't simply losing his wife. It was losing the person who had stood beside him through some of the darkest chapters of his life. Then his own health deteriorated. He suffered a pulmonary embolism and later admitted that his grief became so overwhelming that he considered ending his life. What stopped him, according to his own account, was thinking about how Beth would feel if he arrived in heaven so soon after her. Eventually, he chose to keep living. Chapman remarried in 2021, finding companionship with Francie Frayne, who understood grief from her own experiences. But tragedy would strike his family again in 2025 when his young grandson was killed in a shooting. After everything, Chapman remains standing. That's what makes his story so difficult to forget. It's not simply about a bounty hunter who became famous. It's about a man who experienced childhood trauma, prison, addiction within his family, the deaths of his children, the loss of his wife, and battles with his own mental health, yet somehow continued moving forward. Maybe "you can't keep a good dog down" was never just a catchphrase. Maybe it was his survival story.